All right, guys. So I've been all over the place when it comes to atheist speakers. I like to keep what I think are like really good sources of logical information on various sides. I have no problem admitting one of my favorite theist uh, speakers is William Lane Craig. Now, again, I don't agree with him, but that's an entirely different matter. I think that he does the best job that I've personally seen at using logic to explain specifically why he believes what he believes without engaging in too many logical fallacies. I do the same thing on both sides. That way, if I kind of compare and contrast the two, I personally believe that I can make the most informed decision. Um, that being said, I have just discovered my new favorite atheist. Most of the former ones I've lost for whatever reason. Uh, Richard Dawkins, due to his bigoted position on trans and LGBTQ stuff in general. Um, Sam Harris, due to his position on the Israel Palestine conflict. Um, Basically, both I think are just they're being intellectually dishonest because I don't believe they actually think the things that they claim, although I could be wrong. But so this guy, Jesus, like, uh, funny that I'm using Jesus as like a emotional appeal in this particular video. But anyhow, um, so this guy, damn, he is incredibly fucking intelligent. Like at various points, I just had to pause for a moment and kind of take in what he said. Like the guy's ability to use logic is like unparalleled, at least in my experience. It's like holy shit. Like a lot of people point to T Jump as like a an atheist that has like perfect fucking logic, and he's good for sure. He just a lot of it is he just talks fast, which is like a left. Well, not it's not even really left. He just tends to focus specifically on atheism, but like he's like an atheist version of fucking Ben Shapiro in a way. He's smarter than Ben Shapiro, sure, but like this guy is he doesn't just talk fast. It's like every there's a high likelihood that it's scripted, but still, like as long as he created this speech, wow. So this is not designed to be like an entire video deal where I like go over each point as like I think what I think about it. It's not one of those. This is mainly designed as like I really just uh discovered this guy, and anyone who follows me that's like curious about this sort of thing, like I'm kind of just kind of sharing him with you. So you might want to dig into him further, and of course I'll include the link in the description. So let's go ahead and dig into this, and I'm really just gonna kind of jump a little bit, or I might just play like one small part and then leave you the link and you can decide whether or not you want to go further or not. But I am highly impressed with this guy. And I am not going to increase the playback speed because it's for me anyway. I can't speak for everyone. This guy, I already have to like pause at certain points just to frickin' follow everything and like, yeah. So here we go.
And to be honest, this was generally the degree of terror that demonic threat had on me. I saw the original Exorcist when I was a kid, and it scared the actual atheism out of me. I couldn't think of anything more horrific than ending up like the girl in that movie.
They're talking about fictional characters. Fictional characters. Am I getting through to you at all?
Welcome back, everyone, to Bridge the Divide, where we examine irrational beliefs, the irrational behaviors that often follow, and how we, with education, rationality, and reason, can bridge the societal divides that they create. Today, we're going to bring Catholic apologist Brian Holdsworth back to the channel so we can take a look at a video that he dropped titled "A Question Atheists Cannot Answer."
Not that crap again!
Now, I know answering questions from theists can go either way, but Brian is only asking one question here instead of a slew of questions, which are essentially just variations on scientific ignorance. Then again, knowing what we know of Brian, there could be some serious issues with intellectual honesty surrounding his question. But you never know. It could very well be the case that Brian has landed on an issue that demands some serious exploration from the non-theistic worldview. So let's dive in and see exactly what we're up against with this question that Brian thinks atheists simply cannot answer.
Okay. Obviously, atheists come in all shapes and sizes, and inevitably, whenever I offer any kind of argument about atheism or against atheism, people will say, not all atheists believe that. Not all atheists believe the same thing. That's a straw man argument.
This is actually an important point that you're bringing up here, Brian. Not all atheists possess identical worldviews. This is simply because atheism only addresses one proposition within a worldview, the belief in the existence of a god or gods. But that's where that position stops. Atheism itself doesn't logically entail that the atheist holds to any particular philosophical or scientific positions. You can be an atheist and subscribe to supernaturalism or necessitarianism. You can be an atheist and be an epistemic nihilist or a moral realist. There are a whole host of concepts that one could hold to as being true that don't require a god or a specific god to be true in and of themselves. The responses that you've identified here, Brian, such as accusations of straw manning, only arise when the theist makes the mistake of assuming that the atheist, simply by virtue of being an atheist, automatically holds to a particular position that they don't. And problems such as these can be easily avoided by simply addressing the position of atheism directly, which would cover things like the individual's epistemological standard, their justificatory pathways, and their rational disbelief, and not by attacking their position by targeting unrelated positions that the individual may or may not hold to.
And that's true. Not all atheists believe the same thing. But a 10-minute YouTube video doesn't allow me to address every variation of atheism that exists.
And you see there, Brian, you're already committing yourself to making the very mistake that you previously alluded to. Beyond the sense of strong and weak atheism, there really are no variations in the atheist position because atheism itself is not a worldview. What you're essentially doing here, Brian, is conflating the term atheism with non-theistic worldview. And it is true, a 10-minute video would not be near enough time to address every single possible variation of the non-theistic worldview. Even if you tried to do this by embarking on a non-stop live stream paneled with every goofy apologist that you could put up there, Google would probably have to shut you down due to hardware constraints before you even made a serious dent in the subject. So moving forward, let's keep in mind that we should not be conflating atheism, the position itself, with the totality of a non-theistic worldview.
Nor is it my goal to refute every instance of that common creed. Instead, I'm simply trying to address people who subscribe to a popular form of atheism, especially a kind that I interact with a lot on YouTube and that I see on certain channels, and to invite them to reconsider the logical coherence of their position.
So again, you're still conflating the terms, operating as though these things in this context are completely interchangeable. If you're going to address the logical coherency of atheism itself, then all you need to do at minimum is examine if the individual's disbelief is rationally justified. And since we're talking about justification for one's personal belief and not epistemic justification for claims made about reality, any valid internal critique or argumentation, such as the logical problem of evil or Schellenberg's argument from divine hiddenness, would suffice. When you say that there are versions of atheism that are more popular than others, what you're actually referring to are versions of the non-theistic worldview. And each one of those individuals' worldviews are going to have philosophical and scientific positions that vary, sometimes even wildly. So just to make sure that we're clear here, Brian, if you're going to ask a question that specifically pertains to a position that can but is not necessarily held within the non-theistic worldview, then that question will not be addressing the coherency or logical consistency of atheism itself.
And if what I described doesn't align with your particular form of atheism, then you can be confident that I'm not addressing you, and then Therefore, there's no need to be defensive.
And that was some of the most subtle gaslighting I've seen in a while. You set the stage by dishonestly conflating two terms, atheism and the non-theistic worldview. Then you assert that if the atheist simply disagrees with your position, then there is no need for them to be defensive, despite the fact that it was you who deliberately chose a tactic intended to put the atheist on their back foot by setting the stage with an intellectually dishonest representation of their position. Because you set this whole interaction up this way, you leave the atheist with only two options: either defend their position by pointing out your deliberate dishonesty and correcting it, or simply walk away from the conversation. But since you put forward that any defensive motion on behalf of the atheist would just be unnecessary, you've attempted to preemptively invalidate what would normally be a completely natural response to your behavior, and essentially told the other person that they simply should not engage, which I suspect is the outcome you ultimately want to have happen here. You just want to be able to make blanket assertions about positions that run counter to your own, regardless of the absence of any intellectual honesty or logical consistency, and you want to do it unchallenged.
Ad popped up anyway, but that was the point where I was going to stop it. Yes, I am highly impressed with this dude. I know nothing about him. This is the first time I've ever seen anything, but damn. I'm sure you can imagine how this takedown went. But yeah, I'll let you check that out on your own. Thank you for your time.